In his book, Satanic Secrets of Jesus, Bjerknes goes far more into the idea of Jesus as a retelling of the serpent on the tree in the Garden of Eden, providing a cursed fruit that's unripe. You guys get the connection? And this rabbi also says the Messiah is equal the snakes, the serpent. Moshiach in Gematria equals serpent. St. Peter, oh, here we go. Let's see.
This is Simon. He's almost on Christmas. Part of the temple. And he wrote a great
So not only is Jesus controlled opposition, but the rabbis even fast and believe that St. Paul and St. Peter are Jewish secret agents. Here's Rabbi Shapira.
It's next week. It's almost on Christmas, by the way. Guess what happened? Every Jew in the world that is a practicing Jew fast. Why do we fast? I found the answer. We fast for a special Jew. You know what his name? Simon Peter.
The Jews fast for Simon Peter, Cephas, the supposed founder of the Vatican, the supposed disciple of Jesus, who Jesus said, "You will be the rock to build my church."
Peter, according to Judaism, is what? He's a secret agent of Judaism.
A secret agent of Judaism.
That was put by the Jews themselves to protect the Jewish people from those big, mean Christians.
Now, here's another one. I put this up yesterday on BitChute. Rabbi believes St. Peter and St. Paul are secret agents of the Jews. We'll play a little bit of this. He talks about the same thing, how they fast for Cephas, for, what do they call it, Shimon?
Why do some tzaddikim fast on the 9th of Teves?
Some righteous Jews fast.
Says they didn't want to give you the reason. I mean, very, very strange.
They wanted to keep it a secret.
Fast, but we're not telling you why. Well, one thing that happens for sure, when somebody tells you they're not giving you the reason, people certainly want to look for the reason, right? That incites your...
They didn't want Christians to know that they're fasting for St. Peter, basically the top apostle, supposedly, of Jesus. They fast for him. They venerate St. Peter. The rabbis venerate St. Peter. And you're going to tell me Christianity's not controlled opposition, and they secretly fast for St. Peter.
That's a curiosity. So the standard reason that's given really makes no sense, because why would this be concealed? It is said that the 9th of Teves was the yahrzeit, was the anniversary of the death of Ezra HaSofer. Now Ezra, right, was the great prophet and Kohen, who was the religious leader of the Jewish people at the beginning of the Second Temple after the 70 years of the Babylonian exile. And it was Ezra that reconstituted the religious community and the observance of the Torah. He organized the men of the Great Assembly, the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, and Chazal consider Ezra to be so great and his leadership was so essential that he is compared to Moshe Rabbeinu. And it is said that had the Torah not been given to Moshe, Ezra would have been worthy to receive the Torah from God, and as a result, on the day of his death, we mourn and we grieve to this very day. Now, that's in the Slichos. The Slichos this morning mentions that the 9th of Teves was the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer. But the problem is very obvious. That's not a reason you got to keep secret. I mean, the Shulchan Aruch says, we fast and we're not telling you why. If it's the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer...
So they even have a cover story for why they're fasting.
So that's the reason. It's not a secret. So let me, since we were talking about the debate with the Christian missionary, there are two Christian reasons why the 9th of Teves became a fast that we didn't want to publicize. But in our small group, I will publicize it. One speculation is that the 9th of Teves was the actual birthday of Jesus of Nazareth in the year that he was born. Mm-hmm. Now, as you know, the December 25th as the date of Jesus' birth is not an accurate date. But Jesus was born towards the end of the solar year. November, December, and of course the Russian Orthodox Church has a different date for Christmas. So according to this tradition, the 9th of Teves was Yashka's birthday. And since the birth of Yashka heralded so many devastating sorrows that the Jewish people have suffered for centuries and centuries, so we make a fast, or some righteous people would make a fast on the day of Yashka's birth, and the Hebrew date was said to be the 9th of Teves, and they've actually seen some astronomical calculations that try to prove that based on the actual year of his birth and the like. And you can well understand why we would not want to publicize that reason, because if the Christians see that we're fasting because we're grieving the death of Yashka, that looks very bad.
Did you hear that? He said if the Christians knew that they're grieving Jesus, it would look very bad. One more time.
Prove that based on the actual year of his birth and the like. And you can well understand why we would not want to publicize that reason, because if the Christians see that we're fasting because we're grieving the death of Yashka, that looks very bad.
If they're fasting for the death of Jesus, it looks very bad.
That's not like Good Friday where you're fasting because of crucifixion. This is fasting because of his birth, and that would look very bad. But
it would look bad because they're celebrating Jesus, and they don't want the Christians to know that they actually consider him their secret Messiah?
But there's a second Christological reference that is even more intriguing and fascinating, and it may be a Baba Maisa, may be totally untrue, or it may be true. We don't have definitive evidence. But this is, it's not from Chazal, it's not in the Medrash, but it comes from sources in Rishonim, like the Machzor Vitri, which was written by disciples of Rashi, and in a famous book of anonymous authorship called Toldos Yeshu. Toldos Yeshu is kind of the Jewish history of Yashka. And this was
the Jewish history of Jesus, one of their secret books. Oh, and by the way, I asked Duvid, after I did my last show about Paul being trained by Gamaliel and how they consider him a top rabbi and leader of the Sanhedrin and stuff. I said, I asked David, isn't it weird that the Talmud doesn't say anything about Paul? You think that they would be talking about Paul, like that he was a heretic or apostate or something like that. Simon Magus, yeah, there's that theory too, that the Talmud talks about Simon Magus, that he's actually Paul. But he sent me this, he said, which is just more about them fasting about St. Peter.
Widely circulated work in the Middle Ages, anonymous authorship, and actually had multiple versions as well. But here is the story. The story is that the 9th of Teves is a yortzeit. It is the day of the death of a righteous person. But the righteous person we are commemorating is not Ezra HaSofer, but it's a man called Shimon Kippah.
Shimon Kippah, Saint Peter.
Shimon Kippah. Kippah in Aramaic is rock. Shimon Kippah is none other than the man that is known in the Christian Bible as Simon Peter.
Simon Peter.
The Apostle Peter. Yeshka's closest disciple and the one who succeeded him as the leader of the church.
They're fasting for the leader of the Christian church.
Peter became the first.
And the only response I get from Christians is, he's lying. He's making it up. You think that they would make up a secret that they're secretly celebrating St. Peter? They don't want you to know that, because then it would give away the fact that Christianity is a deception and a trap for the Gentiles. Yeah, it's damning evidence, Lisa.
Pope, the first bishop of Rome, and his name was Simon, Shimon, and Peter means rock, Petra. And Yeshka gave him the name Peter because he says, upon this rock I will found my church. And in Aramaic, that's Kippah. Kippah means rock, and Shimon Kippah is the Apostle Peter. So the 9th of Teves, we fast because we're grieving over the death, not the birth, the death of a great tzaddik, the Apostle Peter. What on earth does that mean? The Apostle Peter is a tzaddik in the Jewish tradition?
That means like a righteous Jew, holy
So
Jew.
listen to the story that is recorded in Toldot Yeshu.
Excuse me, what's the name of the book again? Tobas?
Toldot, the history. Yeshu. Yeshu is Jesus abbreviated.
They have a secret